Lisa Mirabile from Vertigo Media Group, and today I have two very special guests on our podcast. It's All Action Alarm. We have Brent Mele and Craig Mele, owners of All Action Alarm right here in Hauppauge. Hi, guys. How are you today?
What's going on, Lisa? How you doing? Thanks for having us.
Good morning, Lisa. How you doing?
Doing really well. I mean, it's a little cold out, so I have to tell you, I'm a little not happy about the weather. But
Too soon.
Too soon.
I'm not ready.
Neither am I. And it's the end of October, and I'm saying I'm not ready.
I know.
It's not good. You have a jacket on. You're definitely prepared. It's warm in here, though.
Yeah, thank God. So the holiday season is here. You know, there's trick-or-treaters coming around. There's Thanksgiving. You're going to have people visiting the house. What are some of the safety tips that you could offer during this time?
Well, during the holiday season, what's very important is to have video surveillance around your house.
Why is that?
To be alerted when something may occur. The video cameras can pick up people walking on the property. They could give sound when someone walks on the property to scare them away.
Really?
Yes, they can.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's interesting. Okay.
So it really gives you extra security outside the house, where we focus a lot, or most people focus on the interior and keeping people out. You want to really know what's happening before they actually get to the house. And whether or not you have a video doorbell, that is probably the most common video that's on houses today. And when, let's say someone walks up to your home and either they're dropping a package off, or if it's a trick-or-treater and they want candy, your video doorbell is going to alert you that someone has just walked up onto the porch, and they're either dropping a package off or they're about to ring the doorbell. They don't have to actually push the doorbell to get alerted, so which is very important and very good to have.
Right. During the holidays, we're getting tons of packages all year round nowadays.
Right.
So, but obviously it increases during the holidays.
Absolutely.
So, you know, what do you do? How to deter people from stealing the packages? So one thing, you know, having the awareness is great, but it's not going to stop someone from doing it. So
That's right.
You know, if there are any tips that you could possibly that we could give is, if sometimes with Amazon or some of the other services, you could put a note, leave the package in my backyard.
Sure, I do that all the time. I say leave the package right by the front doorstep,
Right.
because I don't want them coming up to, you know, any closer than that to the house. So one, it panics my dogs, and and two,
Yes.
it panics me,
Yeah.
right? So I'm like, leave it right at the step.
Exactly. So if there is a spot that you could advise them to put it, that is more secure, that is, you know, a great way of, you know, deterring someone from potentially stealing a package. The cameras, you know, you'll have the awareness. If someone has, you know, malintent to come and take it, like Brent was just saying, we have the cameras that when someone approaches, it will sound an alert. So now they're like, oh, what was that?
Right.
So now, you know, maybe deter them from doing anything at that point.
You know what I love about your video surveillance is that I can see it on my phone. Because when I've had my dogs bark, right, there are people, or it could be leaves blowing, my dogs are barking, but I don't know, and I'm upstairs
Right.
in the house, I can then look right on the phone to say, okay, that was nothing, you know, no need to panic. Because today we all get very nervous when we hear something, or, you know, any kind of approach to the house. It makes me very nervous. I know
Yes.
I kind of live in a cul-de-sac down at the end of the block, and I'm alone a lot, so I get very nervous.
Yeah, instead of walking downstairs and looking outside or opening the door, now you can just pull up your phone and say, oh, okay, it's nothing.
It's very convenient. I
Yes.
find that to be very convenient.
Yep.
And
you could actually, if it is somebody at the front door, or if it's someone that you don't want there, you could easily talk to them through the phone and tell them whether or not to leave the package there, or you're not interested. Hopefully they walk away and, you know, they get the hint that you don't want them at the front door.
I love what you brought up before, that you could make a sound alert, right, to scare them off. And I think that's what you were talking about, Craig, as
Yes.
far as a deterrent, right? One is to be aware, but the other is the deterrent. So the sound, what type of sounds are there?
It's just like a high-pitched sound, and, we'll go beep, beep, beep.
Right, it lets them know someone sees them.
Exactly. Like, what was that?
Right.
Yep.
Right.
So hopefully, once again, deterring them from doing anything.
Yeah, that's awesome. I know it would give me a lot of peace of mind, for sure.
Yes, it definitely helps tremendously.
So now you can watch them on the phone, but you can talk on the phone? I didn't realize that you could actually talk to the people that are
So there are
on
many
the steps.
Yeah, there's many cameras available, just like your video doorbells.
Mm-hmm.
So someone comes to the house, rings the doorbell, you can see and talk to the person who's at the door. So especially, when you're not home,
Yeah.
it could give the illusion that you are home. Sorry, I can't come. I'm busy. I can't come to the door right now. Just leave the package there, or come back at another time.
So that reminds me of taking a vacation, right? I know I'm planning a vacation. I'm planning to leave the house I probably shouldn't say this, but.
All right, don't give a date.
Yes.
Okay, I'm not going to give
Right.
a date. But I plan on leaving during the holiday, right, to visit family. So I love that idea that I could speak through that and talking about taking a trip. And you mentioned alerts that I could get. What are some of the other alerts that maybe I should activate while I go away?
Well, first of all, just like you were saying, don't go on social media and start posting that you're going away.
Yeah.
Yes.
This is an open invitation, no one's home at my house.
I know I had to catch myself when I went away last year because I was about to post a photo. I'm like, oh, no, I should not post.
No, do not do that.
People do it all the time.
Yeah, there's many types of alerts, especially during the the holiday season here in the Northeast. It gets very cold, so there's certain alerts that would help ease some anxiety while you're away. Low temperature. You can have a thermostat in your house that's a part of our umbrella protection. And when the temperature drops below a certain degree, would say 55 degrees, which is normal, you could get an alert that you're something might be wrong with your furnace. And it will alert you, and you could have someone come to the house and repair it or check it out for you. Another alert would be if for any reason one of your pipes burst because they froze.
Oh, my God, that's like my worst nightmare. I really think of this while I'm away. So I don't know why you don't think of it every day, but for some reason when you're away, you're like, oh, my God.
Because you got to come home to a
Right.
flooded basement.
Exactly.
It's the last thing you want to have happen. So.
Water damage is the most common claim for insurance companies.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. Number one claim. So, which a lot of insurance companies will give a discount for having like a flood sensor. So the flood sensor,
Well, that's good to know.
yeah, you put it in a vulnerable spot in the house, your water heater, your washing machine, dishwasher. I mean, you can put them everywhere. Sinks, toilets.
How many should we have?
So at least the most vulnerable locations, most common, are the water heater,
Okay.
your and washing machine. Those are the two most common spots.
All right, so at least two in the house.
Right.
And All Action Alarm offers this with a full, how do I get that with All Action Alarm? Why don't you tell me that?
Basically, it's part of our, again, umbrella protection, where it integrates into our security system seamlessly, and we put these sensors around the house. We also put a water flow valve on your pipes that come into the house. So
Really?
Right. So if it does detect water, or if there is a pipe that bursts, the water flow valve detects the flow of the water. It'll shut the water off immediately.
Oh, I love that.
Right.
So if there was, any issue, you're not going to have any damage or minimal damage at all.
Right. It will mitigate the damage in the house.
Well, then that makes sense why insurance companies would give a discount.
Right.
I didn't
yes.
realize you could actually shut the water off. That's pretty amazing.
And you have control from it from your phone, so you could turn the valve on and off.
That's
Right.
great.
So when you
I love
when
this.
your son or daughter is taking too long of shower, you just push the button and you shut it off on them.
That's great. I definitely have a 20-year-old, so yeah, quite often I want to shut that valve off on my daughter. No, good to know.
Yes.
So we talked about the environmental alerts. We talked about video surveillance alerts. What else? What other kind of alerts? I mean, we talk. So I am probably the worst person at leaving my Christmas tree lights on during the holiday because I want it to look so pretty and it's nice to see through the window and it makes me feel happy, you know. So
yeah, when talking about the holidays and, you know, things that could cause issues in the house, specifically fire.
Yeah, that's right.
Which is, you know, very common and more common during the holidays.
Right.
There are things like, you know, the Christmas tree, like you mentioned. Make sure that keeping them watered so they don't dry out. And because you have electric going on them with the bulbs, which could cause a fire. Making sure you shut it off at night. Don't leave it on all night. And there are ways to automate that, too, that could connect to your security system. So
really?
I have it on mine.
I'm learning so much today. This is great.
So with all your lights, you could put smart outlets in, and the tree plugs into that. Your lights plug into that. Okay. So, and you could set a schedule. So at midnight or whenever, everything shuts off. You know, plus you're saving electricity at that point as well.
Absolutely.
But, you know, limiting the, you know, potential of fire being caused by that. Don't leave candles burning or unattended for that matter.
Right.
Don't put them near your decorations if, you know, possible. I know it looks pretty, but the biggest thing is, you know, obviously some of these things are going to happen. Cooking actually was one of the biggest things.
I was going to ask.
Cooking, because people leave the stove unattended, they get distracted. So
this is something my daughter did. Absolutely genius. She put, you know, those smelly scent candles?
Yeah.
She put the wax into a pot because she wanted the house to smell like Christmas.
Right.
And she went in the shower.
Oh, no.
And I came downstairs and there's black smoke everywhere. Because it was causing flames from the gas because it was boiling over and candles have oil in them. So flames were shooting out and black smoke, and it's 2 days before Christmas, and I'm like, oh, my gosh.
So if you had the proper...
That's a good one.
It's ridiculous.
If you had proper smoke detector placement, they would have went off, and she would have been very scared and probably jumped out of the shower.
Well,
it's funny you mention that because we only had one on the upstairs level and didn't have it on the main level, and actually, at that point,
didn't go off.
Hopefully that's not the case anymore.
No, that is not the case anymore. It was before I had all action alarm, right? So I had another company, I won't say which, and they only put one smoke detector in upstairs, and that was the problem.
Right. I mean, that's something we take very seriously. When we talk about the umbrella protection, the life safety devices, you know, are on top of the umbrella, you know, the most important part, because their life safety.
Yeah.
You know, if we did have any of these issues during the holidays, at least, you know, we'll be notified and protected if there is a fire. Yeah. And that the fire department will be on their way. So it's important to have the smoke detectors, the carbon monoxide detectors, properly placed, not just in the upstairs.
Yes, and making sure they're working and tested once a year. And that's one thing that we do on a regular basis is inform our clients that they need their detectors tested, and we send a postcard out every year religiously to have us come in, verify they're all working, make sure they're communicating to our central station so the police, or not the police, but the fire department is called if there is a fire in the house or a carbon monoxide issue in the house.
That's a really important point because it's like set it and forget it. You walk away and you totally forget that, are the batteries still working? You know, is it still functioning? Is it still communicating? I'm sure there's so many issues that could go wrong, you know. So it's great that you inspect it. I didn't realize once a year, though.
And also...
that goes by fast.
And also...
It does.
one very important thing most people don't realize is carbon monoxide detectors have a end of life. Yeah,
They do.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So it's depending on the manufacturer of the actual carbon monoxide, they may last 5 years, 6 years, or 10 years. But after that, they're no good anymore. They need to be replaced.
All right, so I'll be calling you because ours are at least 8 years old.
Yes.
Usually they'll start beeping at their end of life.
Okay.
Most people think it's a battery. Take the battery out, and
Right.
and they don't do anything. Now they have
Yeah.
nothing.
Right.
It's
Exactly.
just it's an annoyance more than anything. So, but yeah, carbon monoxide's end of life. I mean, smoke detectors don't technically have an end of life, but it's recommended to replace them approximately every 10 years.
Okay.
At least make sure you're cleaning them out and testing them, though,
Hmm.
if you're not replacing them.
And I can call you to do that.
Absolutely.
Okay. Good to know because I'm
So-
not doing that.
And like you said, with the set it and forget it, people, it's not on top of their minds, so they're not thinking about it. So that's why we send out, the annual inspection notices. At least they're aware of it. And if they don't have us come in and do it, hopefully they're doing it themselves just because they were reminded to do it.
We do hear so much about carbon monoxide poisoning happening in not the holiday season, but in the winter months.
Right.
Why is that? Why is it on a rise in the winter and it doesn't affect you like later on? Or not that it doesn't, but I mean, we just hear about it so much more during the winter months.
There could be a few reasons. It's cold outside. Your furnace is running more often. And if you're not maintaining it, any combustible fuel source, whether it's oil, gas, could create carbon monoxide. And if not properly maintained, this could be a cause of carbon monoxide in the house. People starting their car in the garage to warm it up before they leave.
Yeah.
Which is very interesting. I remember when I was growing up, they used to tell us all the time, never start your car in the garage because it gives off carbon monoxide and people die. I don't see those public announcements anymore, and I believe a lot of people aren't aware that that is a problem. We had a client not too long ago start their car in the garage and their carbon monoxide was going off, and they called us and said, there's something wrong with my carbon.
Really?
And we're like, well, what's going on? Well, it's going off. The siren's going. Well, that's probably not a problem with the carbon. You probably have some kind of carbon monoxide issue. And then we were talking it out, and we found out not too long after that her car was on in her garage with the garage door closed.
No, that is so funny because to me, you're right. We grew up with those public service announcements, and you're right. They don't happen anymore.
No, not anymore.
And to me, it's like common sense, right? Because we heard it
Right,
so
we heard
often.
it.
Right.
But yeah.
I don't think my children have any idea that that's a problem.
Oh my gosh.
I should tell them, right?
But I don't think I've told mine
Right.
either.
Right.
You're right. Wow.
So it's something that everybody needs to be aware of, and we need to, we try to give, when we put these things in, tell them where carbon monoxide is going to be a problem. Making sure you have your furnace cleaned regularly, your chimney cleaned, because if
The
you
chimney?
don't, the chimney should be cleaned too.
Huh. How often? Like
It's
I'm
a good,
learning so
it's
much.
a good question. I don't know that personally, but probably every 3
Is
to
it
4
every year?
years.
Oh, okay.
I don't really have that answer. So.
Okay.
Your furnace also has a chimney on it,
It does.
so keep that in mind too. So you have 2 chimneys.
I swear I'm a homeowner. I really am. Oh my gosh.
But that's
Well-
good because a lot of people, overlook these things.
Yeah.
So you're not
absolutely.
alone.
No, not alone. But that's a little sad. Nonetheless. So this is your official PSA announcement.
Yes.
Clean your chimneys. Clean your burner.
Maintain your smoke and carbon monoxide detectors.
And don't start your car in the garage.
Or a
with the door
generator.
shut.
Or a generator.
Or your generator.
Right. If you lose power, make sure you don't use a generator in the garage or in the house.
Right.
Oh.
Down in Florida, when they had the hurricane, a lot of people died because they put they started their generators in their home and they left their windows closed.
Oh my gosh.
So that's the consequences of natural disasters does happen quite often.
Yeah, it happened here during Sandy.
Yes.
Well, you've spoken about the umbrella protection, right? And I know we covered that a couple of times in our last podcast, but I don't know if all of our listeners listening today know what the umbrella protection is. So why don't you run through that for me, Craig?
So the umbrella protection is where we provide actual protection versus the illusion of protection.
I think that's important because so many people don't understand that there's an illusion of protection.
Correct.
There's many cases where we had an example recently where we went to a house, met with the client, potential client,
Right.
Designed the system to give them actual security, and the investment was a little higher than they wanted, and they got a less expensive price and went with the other company. About a month later, we were back there.
A month.
Yeah, and the client would have never known. They had an issue with something on the system, and he wasn't getting a response from the company he ended up going with. Not satisfying response. So he was upset, had us come back in, and we did an inspection of what was done there. And there were so many things that this client would have never known about, and literally the perfect example of the illusion. Certain things weren't protected properly. The carbon monoxides that were there were not even connected.
Oh, gosh.
They were expired. They should have been replaced regardless, but he thought that he had carbon monoxide protection. So there was many other things.
Wow.
So, that's, the example, and we see it often, putting just alarming a couple of doors in a motion detector.
Right.
It's what kind, you think you're getting protection, but, motion detector could be bypassed, or, if you're in the house, you can't use the motion detector. So those are.
I thought that as well because I had pets.
Yep.
I do have 2 dogs, so
Right.
I thought I couldn't put my motion detector. I didn't realize there were different functions until you guys educated me about that.
That's true.
So anyway, for this client, we ended up redoing the whole system. He ended up probably spending more than he was originally.
Sure, because he was probably paranoid now.
Right. Well,
add it on.
Exactly.
And it took that to happen to understand the value. And the different layers of the umbrella, like we've discussed, life safety being the most important.
Right.
Then you have your security, alarming your doors, your windows, glass break protection. Then you have your environmental, which we discussed, water damage, pipes freezing, different devices to protect against that.
So it's temperature and water.
Temperature and water. Yeah, I mean, they're different devices, but
Yeah.
those are 2 of the most common, especially being here in the Northeast.
Yeah.
We're talking about getting cold, pipes freeze. So you want to either avoid the pipes freezing or at least know if it did happen and mitigate the damage at that point. So because, just the stress and for a small investment to avoid all that trouble and the time it's going to waste.
Yeah, and the anxiety you have over not knowing.
Yeah, exactly.
And unfortunately, with this kind of stuff, it's always, or I shouldn't say always, but I would say probably after the fact. After something happens, then you're like, oh, man, I have to call, just like your client, right? He realized that he wasn't getting satisfaction by his other company, so he's like, oh, I got to call them again.
Yeah.
But
And a lot of people aren't aware of these products and that they're available out there. And that's what we're trying to do, is make homeowners aware that we can relieve anxiety of leaving the house and protecting your home while you're not there. So it's very important. And that's what why we're doing this podcast today, is to make more people aware of what's available to them.
now the one thing I love that you did, whereas really no other company that I had spoken with did, was walk around the house and tell me of the weaknesses and what I should be aware of for my house specifically, right? So I felt like you cared, and I think you do, and I feel like you care, right? And you talk about educating your client, but you educated me at that point of sale into all the different components of what I needed, to keep me and my kids, and even the pets. You considered the pets
Absolutely.
safety, you know,
I mean,
which
the
was
umbrella,
important to me.
the umbrella protection really is a lifelong thing. We want to be able to provide value to our clients as long as they're in their home. And every year there could be different things added onto the system that could either protect you or add more value and make it easier for you to maintain your home. So as the years go on, technology changes also. So we want to be able to get the best and the greatest things in your home, so you are protected better.
Right. The family dynamic changes. You buy a house, it's you and your wife, or you and your significant other, and you have children, you have pets. So things change where you're going to need different types of protection.
Actually, while Brent was speaking, I was thinking about my parents, right? I'm at a different stage in my life. So I'm very concerned about my parents because they're in their late 80s. I'm the youngest of 5, so they're up there. And I constantly worry about how they're doing, And you mentioned the different stages of life. So, being able to see them and where they are in their house and make sure that, because they don't listen to me, just like I didn't listen to them. Now it's payback.
Payback time. Do you have anything in the house, or do you have anything in place?
No, that's what, I was just thinking about it. I'm like, I need you to go to their house so that I can have peace of mind, because every day I worry about them. Who's walking up and down what steps?
Yeah.
God forbid
So
something
there's
happens.
a lot of different things. So Craig, you want to talk about the medical side of it?
Right. So right along with the security, you have, the growing elderly population, a lot of people, in this situation. So you have the old-fashioned, what has been around for a while, the PERS button, which is Personal Emergency Response System. So it's like the I've fallen and can't get up type button.
Right.
So if something does happen, they have something on them at all times, especially with the elderly, they don't always have their cell phones on them.
No,
So,
they don't.
Yeah. So having a button that they could either wear on their wrist or around their neck is, easier for them. And it's always there. Press the button, something happens, they fall, or, you're right, exactly. They're just not feeling well. Central Station's going to call. They could talk to the operator, tell them what's going on. If they can't respond, but they're able to press the button, we're going to dispatch an ambulance. Okay. So, and you're going to be notified. So you're going to be aware of what's going on with mom or dad. Mm-hmm. So now you have some peace of mind knowing if something does happen when you're not there, because you can't be there all the time,
right,
that they're going to be taken care of and you're going to know about it. And there's a lot of devices that have come out recently that could be monitored, whether it's just by the Central Station or a family member.
Okay.
Especially when you have elderly people who can't do much for themselves, or for some who are very active. We have one camera, they call it Wellness. So a camera that...
The camera's called Wellness.
No, sorry. The
package.
The product line, in essence, or,
okay.
Another level under the umbrella, I'd say.
Okay.
The wellness level.
Okay.
So one with the camera, you could see what's going on in the house, and they could press a button and it'll ring your phone on the camera. So they could talk to you at any time.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, so you could talk back and forth with them, see what's going on. If they have an issue, they can contact you immediately. There are things like you could put contacts on medicine cabinets. So you know that they're taking their medicine. So when that cabinet, it opens, it's going to record it, and now you could see, okay, the cabinet opened at, and you could have a camera looking at it to make sure they actually opened the cabinet and took their medication.
That's great.
There's bed sensors.
That's great.
Yes.
There's bed sensors. So you could set an alert that if mom or dad didn't get out of bed, so why are they not out of bed today? So you could say, between these hours, what kind of movement was there?
Right.
You know,
So much to think about.
it is.
So much to think about. Yeah.
But it gives you peace of mind.
It does.
And that's what you need to have because you don't know what's going on in their home while you're not there. So it's very important. And they're not calling you every moment of the day. So.
Oh, so the 9 phone calls that I had yesterday.
All right, so they're calling you. They're not calling me.
Yeah, that's great.
Not yet.
Not yet. Right.
Although if my mother got you on the phone, she'd probably want to feed you, tell you to come over.
Right.
Well, that's a good thing.
Yeah.
I got to know where she lives now.
That's right.
Is she a good cook?
Oh, yeah. The other thing about the holiday is everyone's on their devices, right? And so my son does live at home, and we constantly have problems with our Wi-Fi. And I get text messages throughout the day. Right. It's down again. It's down again. It's down again. Try and do homework. It's taking me 4 hours. It's down again. And I'm like, oh, that's great. And we have, again, a local company. And most recently, I found out that you offer a better product than obviously I have, and you can do something very interesting. I don't want to let the cat out of the bag, so Brent, why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, basically, what we provide is a mesh network in the house, which is putting a umbrella of, if you want to call it an umbrella, but Wi-Fi throughout the house and in the backyard if needed.
In the backyard?
In the backyard, so you can
so
sit
I
by
could
the pool.
sit. Yeah, I
So-
was just gonna say that. It's great.
You still need your service provider, whether it's
Okay.
In New York, most likely Cablevision, Verizon. But most of the time, they're just putting the router in the house. So they're
That's
putting it in one location. It's not always in the best spot. And it's limited.
First of all, I have like 3 Orbeez
Eh.
plus, whatever else they gave us, and it still doesn't work. So I'm like,
So, I mean, there's also, proper setup that needs to be done, which most people aren't that familiar with how to do it. They've made it much easier, but it's still, it depends on the situation. So that's the whole thing. You have the Orbeez in the house because the signal was weak in certain areas, so you put them throughout the house. Did you test the signal in each location to know where the proper location was for the units? Sometimes.
are you asking me? Because
No.
I didn't even know I should.
I was going to keep going because I
Turn it on.
assumed the answer.
Yeah, you can always assume the answer is no.
You may need to hardwire something. And when you originally started the story with your son is on, or everybody's on their phones all the time, I thought you were going a different direction.
Oh, really?
Where you would like to stop everybody from using the
Yeah, I
internet.
could shut it off. That would be great. That's good too.
Yeah, but you can.
Oh, I could.
You could stop individual devices from joining if you wanted to, and it's very
I love that
Right,
control.
Knock them
yeah.
off.
That's exactly it. The control of it. So
Bedtime. Click.
and it's relatively easy to use. But the initial setup is where, we can come in and help you out with that to make sure you're getting what's most important, the proper signal, because
Right.
you're probably not stopping the kids from going online because that would be
That's a,
a nightmare.
Anyway.
Right, yeah. That'd be a big argument.
Right.
Yeah.
No
All
one wants
night
to deal
long.
with that.
No one wants to deal with that. Is right.
So, and everything's on Wi-Fi nowadays. So if you don't have good Wi-Fi in the house,
It's a
then,
problem.
It's a problem, right?
You need good speed, and you lose speed the more devices you have on it. So, and you could see based on the portal, because you would have a portal showing you how many devices are hooked up to the system, and you could have most houses, believe it or not, have over 30 devices hooked up into their Wi-Fi. Every TV, every phone, every tablet.
I'm
Every
adding up.
computer,
Yeah.
your video doorbell, your Wi-Fi cameras.
Yeah.
So just
Oh,
think of
yeah.
all those things, and each one of those devices takes up space on your router, and it slows down your system. So there might be some devices that don't need to be hooked up that you can knock off to speed up your internet. So
Okay.
you are able to see that now with the online portal of these devices.
I love the visibility on that. That's awesome. All right. So I think that's it for today. I think we covered a lot of ground.
Awesome.
Talking about PSAs, though, do you guys want to close it out with any holiday PSAs?
More PSAs?
More PSAs?
I mean, honestly, the most important thing, just reiterating, is make sure you have the proper detection in the house, smoke and carbon monoxide, in the right spots and enough of them, and make sure they're working.
And call All Action Alarm. How do they get in touch with you?
You could call us in our office, 631-549-7225. You can email us, info@allactionalarm.com.
Or you could go online at allactionalarm.com and fill out one of our forms, many forms on the website that will go right to us or get right to us.
Well, I can attest to the fact that they get right back to you within 48 hours. I think I had a technician, on the phone talking to me and setting up an appointment. So I want to thank you for that and keeping my family safe. And I wish that everyone here on Long Island have a safe and happy holiday season. And we'll be speaking to you soon. Thank you, everyone, for today.
Thanks, Lisa.
Thank you, Lisa.